You've heard the word carny?
Yeah.
And these are people that travel with the shows and go from state to state and fair to fair. So when I was 6 years old, my little sister was 3, my older sister was 10. And my dad thought that he would like to, he could make some money running this concession at a fair. So he bought what he called a rabbit race. And this was a game that had a counter that had maybe 12 or 14 places where people could play. And you might have seen them at Six Flags or whatever, but it had a hill like this that would go up, and these little rabbits were on a little metal plate, and you operated it from this counter. So it had a handle and a little paddle, and there were 2 balls that came down on this side of a little box. And this ball would run out here, and it would come to the end of the paddle. So you hit this paddle, the ball would go up, and there were 2 slots here. And as the ball went through one slot, the rabbit took 1 jump. If it went through the other one, it took 2. And so when the first rabbit up to the top, a bell rang, and whoever won got a prize. So when school was out in June, and they were coming through, they had a big old truck. They traveled, they had a tent in this truck and packed this thing. So from June until the last of August, we all went. So my sisters and I. And we traveled, we rode in that truck, and it was a big old Ford, and it had an extension over the hood. Like, well, there were lots of them then, old now. But anyhow, here's the truck, and then it had a part over the hood, and that's where we slept, and that's where we rode in the truck. And so my sister Janice and I got pretty good at this. We could practice and play all we wanted. Mm-hmm. So when the one I remember most was when we were in Oklahoma City. And so when the crowd was kind of slack, we'd stand up there and play the game and have the rabbits run up and hear the bells. Oh, this is fun. Oh, guys, we're just having a wonderful time. And so then people would come in, and I guess it cost a nickel to play.
And the thing is, these guys were 6, and so they're trying to coax older people into playing this game. Like, if the 6-year-old could do it, well, surely a 10-year-old would be able to do it easier.
I'm thinking it was 6 or 7. It had to be in that, because it was just ahead of 1929, and that things went downhill from there. But anyway, we would shill for this. That's what they call a shill. You're coming, you know, like at any one of the games, you have the guns, and you shoot at the targets, and the milk bottles, they put 3 and 2 and 1, and you know there's a way to hit those and have them go over, and a way to miss them, and so on and so forth. So we did all that. So we spent that whole summer traveling with that show, and we never won anything. But when we closed it up and went back home, we had all these prizes. We had those in barrels. And so those things were packed away in the old barn in Kansas for years. And then
you only did it for one summer?
You know what? I'm a little vague about that. It was either one summer and then into the fall. It was either 29 or they did it one more for part of the year. But anyway, it was very expensive, and you know, my dad lost everything, so that was kind of bad. But anyway, and then
other than that, they had a good time.
Yeah, we had a good time, and we could play any of the games. Everybody thought we were great bunch of kids. We could ride on anything. We could play any one of these games. We could ride the merry-go-round and the whip and you know everything. Oh sure,
Because they traveled with the carnival thing.
They traveled with the carnival, and we could go swimming. We could go swimming every day in the pool. And then if we move forward to I think it was 1943, and we were at war, World War II. And during that time, there was a shortage of, you couldn't get tires, you couldn't get metal, everybody had to, we saved grease and oil and had to turn in a tube to get another tube of toothpaste, and you know, it was, we were in short supply of everything. And one of the things they quit doing, they quit slicing bread because they couldn't replace the machines. If you've ever seen, and I know we had one in, remember down at
There's one
Williams?
at the bread store down in the village,
Yeah,
guys.
and you know, they set the bread on here and it jiggles through these blades and cuts and then it slides into this package. Anyway, they quit slicing bread. So there was a run, everybody trying to go to every hardware store to get a bread knife. Well, they didn't have it. After a while, they ran out. Aha. Who has bread knives? We had a barrel of bread knives. We had a whole barrel.
From
They were all-
prices?
Oh, they were 15 years old, but they were bread knives. And we had two kinds. One with the red handle, which was the cheaper one. And then we had the deluxe, which cost 75 cents. The red handle was 50 cents. And before my dad and mom had put all those things away, clean on every one of them. So when we opened that barrel, they were brand new.
Yeah.
And we cleaned those up. I was working at the Santa Fe. My sister Mary was working at the water department. And Janice, I think, no, she was still in school. But she sold some there. So we sold every knife we had.
And how much did you sell them for?
I think we sold them for $1 and maybe 75 cents. You know, after 20 years, after 15 years, you made a
You made a quarter extra on each one?
And we thought, hey, this is great. Every time we come up, you know, at your desk, go to work, there'd be a name and, you know, I need 2 bread knives, so on and so forth. And so we sold those bread knives. And in 6 days, we were out of bread knives after 4 or 5. And at the end of 6 or 7 days, there was such an uproar of people that had, you know, throughout the country. Nobody could buy bread knives. And so there was such an uproar that they decided that would be one thing we wouldn't have to give up. So they went back to slicing bread. In the meantime, we got rid of all those knives and could have bought them all back at 25 cents on the dollar, I suppose. But we didn't. And
How much money did you make in total?
I have no idea.
How many knives would fit in a barrel, Mom? How many knives would fit in there?
Oh, we had a couple hundred.
Oh my gosh.
How big was the barrel?
It was a good sized barrel.
Like
It was.
that big?
Oh, it stood this.
Like a
tall.
pickle barrel.
Oh, it was a big one.
Isn't that funny, you guys? To know that Grandma worked at one of those carnivals and slept in the car?
Well, I used to bootleg a little too, but
Bootleg.
Do you guys know what a bootlegger is?
No.
Ryan, ask Grandma what a bootlegger is.
What? What's
Ask Grandma what a bootlegger is.
it's a person who carries illegal alcohol across the state line.
What's a bootlegger?
Grandma was a thief. No. Your grandma here comes
Go,
from
Grandma.
real straight roots.
No, see, Kansas was a dry state.
And that meant no beer and no alcohol there.
You couldn't have it.
No.
They didn't sell it.
No, they didn't sell it. People manufactured it in their basement, and they had attics blow up and basements blow up and things like that. But in order to get real alcohol, a drink, to get whiskey or rum or something like that, you would have to bring it in from. You'd have to go over the state line over to Kansas City.
Kansas City was in Missouri.
There's 2 Kansas Cities, you know. There's a Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri. So a lot of stuff went over the line.
So you went over to Missouri and got it for whom?
Do you sell it
my
everywhere?
dad and Mr. Mulligan down the street.
How did you do it? Just
Well,
tucked it under your shirt or what?
well,
Did they check you when you crossed the border or something?
well, yes, sort of. Janice and I would take the bus over to Kansas City. Now, we were of legal age, but but it didn't make any difference. We shouldn't have had it because we were going back to Kansas. So we would take the bus over to Kansas City. We'd do maybe a little shopping, and then we would go over to the Cat's drugstore, and we would buy 3 or 4 apiece. And and then we would put them in our, I don't know if we had a suitcase or not. We had a bag of some kind.
Yeah.
And so we would take that. And when coming back into Kansas, then there was a port of entry, and all buses and cars had to pull over through that port of entry to see if you had any contraband in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we would get on the bus and we would put these bags either up on the top or under the seat, and as soon as we pull into the port of entry, we just kind of slide down in our seat and drop our heads and be asleep. And these 2 innocent little girls from the country.
So, did they ever check your bags? Or would they?
No, they were innocent looking little
But I
girls
I mean,
just
did they
sleeping.
check other people's legs?
I don't recall that they ever did, but you know, sometimes you just have this look on your face like, okay, I got it, just take it, just, you know, let me go, whatever. But anyway, no, we never got caught. We did that 3 or 4 times.
And
But
how
I
much
tell
did you charge Mr. Mulligan for carrying his illegal bootleg whiskey over the line?
You
I
could've
don't remember.
Could have made some mad cash.
But Southern Comfort was very popular, and Old Granddad. And no, we never got caught. But I tell you, when I'm laying this way and Janice is laying on my shoulder, I can hear her heart just going like this.
What happens when you get caught?
I'm never gonna let my
Oh,
friends
I
meet you on bootlegging, carning. Oh my gosh.
I never thought about getting caught and put in jail or anything. I kept thinking, oh my God, if my dad ever caught me, it'd just be, it'd be terrible.
If they did check your bags, you could put them like an old perfume vial. How to clean them out?
Oh, way to go, Emily. You have a criminal mind like your
Has the
grandma.
right mind for it. Yeah. And between that and the time I went with Sister Rita to this roadhouse, and we bought, brazen as we were, we bought a spiked Coke, and that was Coke with a shot of something in it. And boy, we just walked into this place as brazen as could be, and we just sat down at this booth and just ordered a couple of spiked Cokes.
Purposely?
Sure.
Oh.
Oh yeah. I said brazen, you know. And so, and she's a nun, you know. Sister Rita. And so, anyway, we sat there and enjoyed our drink, and then we left, and we just had this feeling, you know, when you think, boy, there's just, you know, I just am a little restless, whatever. And we walked out of that little roadhouse, and there sits a police car. And we just knew. And oh, my dad will kill me if he sees my name in the paper. There'd just be terrible. I just couldn't put up with that. And so we just walked. I didn't have a car, she did. So we just walked over and got in her car, and we just went out to the road, took off, and went back home. And I think we had to stop partway home. Oh gosh, I tell you, I was never so scared. I think maybe that's when she went to the convent.
Because she's now a sister, Abby.
Not like right
She's
now?
a Catholic
She's
sister.
alive?
Yeah. Sister Rita. What?
Now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a story about 1934. A long time ago when I was 12. It may have been when I was 11, 1931. Anyways, 1934, I was 12. Yeah. And so it's a long time ago. And it's before rockets were really invented. You know? You hear about rockets now, they go up in the air. This is before rockets were invented. The only one else at that time that was playing around with rockets was Mr. What was his name? Goodall?
Werner von Braun's guy.
And Werner von Braun. Anyways, I made a liquid-propelled rocket then. We had a launching pad that consisted of a plywood launching pad, and on top of this we set our rocket. not completely. We didn't set it down completely, so it rested on the launching pad. It was on two eyes on the rocket, and it went up in the airline on a rod.
Okay, a metal
Went up on
post
a
or
rod,
something.
on a metal post. Anyways, we had this rocket, so we had refrigerators, and that's about all we had was pieces of refrigerator, and so we used the expansion cap in a refrigerator, which is a ball, a cylinder about that long, and it was round on the inside, and it expanded the oxygen real well, and the kerosene we had pumped in by the oxygen. So one of the whole thing didn't blow up on us. Anyways, we had a spark plug down underneath the thing.
And who's on the other end of that spark
How
plug?
old were you?
I was 12.
Well, okay.
Anyways, there's no one else doing this stuff in 1934. And so we had this spark plug down underneath, and we set up the spark plug with a spark coil, a Ford spark coil, and that made it go on continuously. And so then we turned on the oxygen and the kerosene, and we tried to do this simultaneously. We had long rods that went out to that rocket. They're about from here to that room over there, in the corner of the room, rods, and you could turn them quarter turn, and that turned the oxygen on full, turned the other one a quarter turn, that turned the kerosene on full. And because the valve rotated from this way, I mean, it was this way closed, and then this way was wide open. And so we set one off, and it didn't go up naturally.
Now, who's all with you?
I think Buddy was with me too.
Who?
Bill.
Your brother Bill.
Bill,
Okay.
Bill, and one of the kids, Keith Goodling. And his dad had a machine shop, so we could make the parts down there in case we got needed something machined. So, anyways, we made the rocket up, and it went up a little ways, probably as high as this room, and fell over and really exploded. Tell you, with the kerosene and the oxygen in there, it really did a job on it. Anyways, we tried that a couple of times and it didn't go very good. We used fish bobbers, which were cans about that long, and they were about that big around for the oxygen and kerosene container, and they were soldered together, so if they got too expanded, well, they would leak, and that's what happened on this one. And so we got two more cans, and we made another motor and started up with the end of that. And in the end, we did all right. We got up about 200 to 300 feet. We actually measured with a protractor how far up we went, and did the calculations and all that kind of stuff.
So imagine doing geometry, okay, when you're 12 years
Yeah.
old.
And so we did, and that's what we did. We did geometry. I was always good in geometry anyways, and went up about 200-300 feet, and it was successful on the rocket. So then we changed over from liquid fuel rockets. They were quite dangerous. We found out.
After how many mishaps?
Well, we used liquid oxygen. We could get the liquid oxygen over GE, and we used kerosene. We could get that down to the corner garage, and it was hell on wheels. I mean, the stuff really burned. So, anyways, in that time though, we developed a cooling device because the bells, the expansion chambers would burn out. They were only about 30,000 thick, and they would burn out, before we get halfway up in the air. And so we put copper coils on the inside of that, and we ran oxygen down the inside, on the outside edge, around here, and it spiraled around and then came up here and entered here and went down through, and it really was good. That was the best heights we got, and the best flights we got with a cool, and that stuff there wasn't invented until later. I mean, that wasn't invented until, I don't know when that was invented, probably about 1950.
Now, how old was Uncle Bill?
Oh, he was, I was 10 and 12, and he was about 2 years, 3 years younger than I was.
Okay.
So then we decided to make a different kind of rocket. We would make a propulsion rocket with solid propulsion in it. So Bill looked it up, how to make solid propulsion rockets. He was a chemist in the outfit. And he says, oh, we just got to mix rubber with the stuff and put aluminum in it, and so on down the line, and potassium chloride, potassium nitrate rather, and we can have a good liquid, good solid rocket. So we made that kind of a rocket. And they went up higher than the liquid fuel. So we decided to try that one. And we decided to make miniature rockets, and we got going down smaller and smaller and smaller. And I had a rocket that's made in a firecracker, about 2-inch firecracker, that went off we saw it off in our bedroom, you know, and went out the window and went that way.
No worry about the house catching on fire?
No, and one fell over and I burned a nice, perfect pattern in the floor. There's a perfect flare in the floor. It was underneath the rug, but we pulled the rug up when this happened, and so we didn't burn the rug up. And then we put the rug back down. Mom didn't know about it.
Where were your mom and dad at this time?
They'd always be gone. When we were setting off rockets, they were always gone, or we would go out shooting, and we'd take the stuff and poke it outside and leave it there, and then we'd carry it up, go out that way, and they'd carry it all down to the lake and shoot down to the lake. So we shot our rockets up down to the lake. But anyways, we made liquid propulsion, solid fuel propulsion rockets, and put ceramic cones in them. We found that was the only thing that would last, ceramic cones. And we found that out from burning the stuff in the ceramic cones, and we tried to make them in the right proportions, you know, and all that kind of stuff, so they would expand out. And they were curved around like that, and they came out to about that kind of a shape.
Where'd you get them?
We made them out of clay.
Yeah, see,
We
it's
found.
ceramic like pottery.
It was good pottery clay. It must have been, because we found good clay. And we baked them in the oven.
Okay.
Keep
Also when Mother was gone?
Yeah. And we took this rocket and made the rocket motor, and it hooked it up to the a round body about that big, around about that long. And they were pretty intense as far as heat goes, because they would burn the rocket motor up in there before it got fired. After it fired, we could only use a rocket motor once that way, and they would go to pot.
Yeah.
But we had successful rocket motors go up, and they were much faster and much further than liquid fuel ones.
Did your mom and dad ever find out?
No. They never found out. And my dad, at the time, got me the liquid oxygen. I don't know what he thought he was going to do with it, but he got the liquid oxygen.
It's like a
and said I could get it from then on.
Hey Bert, tell the story about the porch you guys, or the deck you guys built, and how you had the neighborhood build it for you. You convinced the kids to build it for you.
What?
Back in Norwood, that patio.
Good patio.
Taskmaster.
Huh?
But you ended up having the whole neighborhood working for you?
Yeah, that one we had the whole neighborhood working for us. First I did was spend $100, and I got $1 bills, so that they packed around. I must have $100, must be that big around at the time. And so they would get paid a mall for working for me.
A milkshake.
I waited till they were August, and they were bored with doing nothing now. They wanted to go back to school, and so I got the $100 in $1 bills, and I would get an old truck. Mom got the truck, the General Motors truck with yellow. It didn't have black and white spots on it in the beginning, but it ended up with black and white spots on it, and that was what I used to build it with anyways. And so anyways, I leveled it all up by camera. I used my camera as a level, as a transit, really. And got a stick, made a stick, with foot marks on it, up the line, And at the top of the stick I put a yardstick and crosshairs on it. And so you could sight real level with a camera.
Yeah.
And if you had it level in the thing over here, if you had the camera level, you put a level on the camera pad and went all around and it got level. Then you put the camera on top of that, and then it was level from then on. So that's how I made the floor in the patio level, and I made the walls, laid out all the walls and made those level, and so on down the line. And you may have remembered that patio had a tiny grape arbor over the top of that.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was done when I got back from Italy, and I saw Italian grape arbor for the first time over there. So I made this like an Italian grape arbor I saw in Italy. It was pretty good.
How many kids do you think helped you?
Oh, we had 20 of them at least. 20, 25, didn't we?
And how long did it take?
About as long as it took. The rest of the summer, it took about 4 weeks. And then I got sick, and Mom finished laying the brick, didn't you? Didn't you? If I remember right?
Probably.
Yeah, if I remember right, you did. But it was almost done then.
Did you have too many malts? Is that why you got sick?
No, I was sick with the flu. Don't know where it came from. But I was really, really sick for a couple of days, and I got better, and I could look out the window and encourage her.
Well, if you would name the...
Yeah, the Haywoods helped with it. The Kissels helped. The Freiritos helped. And the Hirsches helped.
Fitzpatrick's?
No.
No.
The Murrays?
Murray's helped, yeah. And Moore's.
Moore's,
helped.
yeah, that's right.
And the Youngs.
And the Youngs helped.
Yeah.
All the girls helped. Girls and boys made no difference. They got a malt. If they worked all day, they got a malt and $1. If they didn't work all day, they got a malt.
And they
So-
rode over to Burger's Dairy.
We rode over to Burger's Dairy in the back of that pickup truck. They all piled in the back of that truck, and I'd ride them over to Burger's Dairy, and I'd say, I want,
Nary a seatbelt anywhere.
15 malts.
Yeah.
So that was 15 malts I get over there. So,
It's not bad. I think my kids would work for a malt and $2 all day. No.
Yeah.
Hey, that was a good burger roll. Oh, that was wonderful.
that was just like a Dairy Queen malt. 25 or 30 pounds of black powder. Enough to blow up half of Norwood at that time. And I know anyways, the kids knew I had it. They knew where it was. I couldn't hide anything from them. And I had it out in the barn, in the shed, you know. And
He had it in Clorox bottles or milk bottles.
yeah, Clorox bottles full. And that was quite a bit of Clorox bottles. That was about 4 or 5 Clorox bottles full out there, if I remember right. And that's why I had it out there. Then we'd make rockets out of that gunpowder and blow up like mad if you could find it. And I used it for hunting, my muzzleloading guns. And so that's what I did with it, except for the kids did other stuff with it when I wasn't around.
I wonder where we learned that.
They must have blown up their heads. I imagine your mother was in on it too.
I only blew up Billy's leg. That's all I did.
You blew up his leg.
Yeah, I did.
You have to go to the hospital.
No, Grandma gave him whiskey
Well, you didn't just do the muzzle loading thing. You
and
did
knocked
the,
him out, and she had to scrub his leg.
hatchet throwing
Big
for a while?
blister on his
Oh, I didn't
I
have
remember
to
that.
throw it.
I didn't know.
Mom.
And I did the
How come you let
Yeah.
Billy
Yeah,
show?
you were pretty good at the hatchet
hatchet
throwing.
throwing and knife throwing. Pretty good, yeah. I could hit that
Did you know a
about from here
firecracker
across the
sometimes
room,
doesn't go off?
about where that
Never
tree
ever
is.
go to
Yeah.
it. He went to it and kicked
I could stick the
fire
hatchet
away.
almost every time in a card.
I know you're a good marksman too.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, where were we? You were shooting with us. Philip and I, 3 of us were shooting a BB gun, I think. You helped us.
Squirrel or something.
Well, you helped us kind of zero in that sight on that BB gun.
Yeah.
Remember that? And you beat both of us shooting, if I recall.
Bud and Mike.
You were pretty good.
You learned how to draw this.
You don't remember that? That was a couple years ago. You were like
I
9
need one
years old.
sword from
Phil.
you too, and I want the one with the tennis ball that
What's the
The
word?
funniest one.